Nothing pierces the heart like the loss of hope. And rarely in our nation's past was hope in such short supply as it was in Cherokee country in the 1830s. Thousands of Indians, snatched from their homes, forcibly marched some 800 miles to an unknown place so that their property, their sacred homeland, could be taken over by white Americans. It was an odd kind of murder, the killing of hope. It is forever known as the Trail of Tears.
Saúde Dante, Idiyan Wiyan, Ale Long Hitchik. Skanigan, Dada Dorska. Ahanihan, Haween, Garton, Wuni Laws, a gonye udana a sky canard to doid. Ale, a gonye udana a gay sailor to doid. Skanigan, Igan Nesla Nahan.
Contractors got a fixed sum per person per month. And so they did all they could to increase their own profit by reducing both the amount and quality of the provision they supplied.
It was better 3 days ago when it was here.
Yet all this removal of the Indians is being represented by editors of newspapers as being conducted with the utmost kindness and without suffering. And I am sorry to say that the Boston Recorder gives a perfectly incorrect view of this subject by publishing only such extract from Southern papers as keep the sufferings of the Indians entirely out of view.
The figures and the planning, if you can, imagine what it is like to try to send 13 detachments of between 1,000 to 1,200 people across this country and provide for them along the way. It was a monumental undertaking.
At first, General Scott balked at this plan, telling Ross he had an offer from a white contractor who had been moving creeks to the west for half the price Ross estimated. Ross's price assumed migrants could cover 10 miles a day, and with a journey of roughly 800 miles, removal could be accomplished over land in 80 days. But water was safer and better, Scott argued. And it was true. In good weather, the trip by boat had been done in around 3 weeks. The federal government constructed a whole fleet of keelboats on the Tennessee River that was simply waiting to be used. The fleet could carry more than 1,000 people, and by returning for other people, the entire tribe, it was thought, could be moved over the winter. But on the first voyage with the keelboats, only 300 Indians showed up. Some 50 others deserted in fear, after feeling the shifting of the keelboat's deck under their feet and hearing stories of shipwreck and cholera on the river. The mission at Brainerd was fairly successful with Cherokee children. The division of labor at the mission schools followed that of a typical Anglo-American farming family. The boys chopped wood and plowed fields. The girls cooked meals, tended the garden, washed dishes, did laundry, and cleaned the houses. By the 1820s, most Cherokees still lived traditionally, but some had accepted elements of the civilization program. Prominent men like John Ross and Joseph Vann lived in elegant houses on large plantations, some of them worked by black slaves. Cherokees were producing food and cotton just like their white planter neighbors. Mills and blacksmith shops had been set up. Toll roads were built throughout the Cherokee Nation. Commercial ferries worked the rivers. Portions of the Creeks who had resisted were subdued by force, and some 1,600 Creek men were dispatched out west. Another 776 Creeks were coaxed into helping federal troops root out Seminole warriors in the Florida swamps. captured Seminoles were sent out by boats to the Arkansas Territory. In early 1836, the War Department sent General John E. Wool and 2,000 federal troops into Cherokee country. Wool's job: disarm Cherokees and enroll as many as he could as voluntary immigrants.
It was also about states' rights and freedom, and whether the vast United States would split into two countries or more. And if so, which would survive as a strong trading partner with Europe?
Get this boy some lightning, some whiskey or something.
To be killed in battle was one thing. To be wounded and sent to a medical tent was dreaded even more. Only 1/3 of the Civil War casualties died of their wounds. The others died from infections and disease. For many doctors, battlefield surgery was on-the-job training.
I amputated a leg on her arm yesterday. My maiden operation. They were praised quite highly.
Long-barrel rifles firing soft lead mini-balls could kill at 1,000 yards, or worse, cause gaping holes and splintered bones. Muscles, arteries, and tissues were mangled beyond hope of repair. It sounds cruel, but men with wounds to the head, belly, or chest were left aside because they would probably die anyway.
Give him some chloroform! Give him some chloroform!
Doctors had to devote their time to those who could be saved, which in most cases meant amputation. Hands weren't washed.
Right, go around and grab his leg.
Entire rebel force was in line of battle on the flats within 50 rods of our line. They were splendidly formed and moving rapidly forward in splendid order. For 2 hours the battle raged. We broke their lines, and they formed again and rushed on, but it was to certain death. Again they broke and again rallied, standing with desperate bravery as rank after rank was mowed down and replaced.
We was in plain sight lying on the slope. All around, the shells plowed up the ground. You could now hear the shriek of your nearest neighbor. Colonel Crandall ordered a charge, and with a yell, we sprang forward. We drove them at the point of a bayonet with an impetuosity that drives irresistibly on, and still within 18 rods of their guns, pouring shrapnel and case shot, grape and canister into us with a terrible precision.
A great many of the rebel soldiers from this state have laid their arms down and returned to their homes. They're tired of fighting and say that Jeff Davis may fight his own battles hereafter.